detective. That's your job. Everything else is just for laughs. I just left the office on my way into Flatwoods, trying to go ahead and get a hold of something. I'd actually found something very interesting back at my home base. Well, in the surrounding area of my home base anyway. It was daytime then. Night was falling, so I used my light. Right now I was looking around for someone's laboratory by the name of Kesha. I'd already found her abandoned body and water testing kit. I knew I was headed into a dangerous area, so I was packing my usual heat. About round a level 1. I'd already visited this town once, and all I found was scattered robots, scorched, and a few dogs here and there, and maybe a couple of two-headed cows. While on my way in, I was gathering resources: soot flour, wood, rhododendron, all that usual type of stuff. I finally made it over to the trading post, and here was the miniature laboratory of the late great scientist Miss Kesha. The first thing I saw were analyzed water archives and play holotape. Summary: reading water testing kit data. Water type dirty, diseases severe. From the same coordinates. Updating volunteer status, as if I were a volunteer. I checked out the archives, and apparently, almost in every instance, the wells and rivers were all tainted, either fatal, to extreme, to serious. I played the holotape.
This is my first interview with another survivor, Kesha McDermott. She found me trying to break into a Nuka-Cola machine and shoved me away.
I listened carefully, and apparently scattered throughout the land, there were what they called survivor story holotapes. I decided to go ahead and not waste any more time. I ejected the holotape and took it with me. Still a greenhorn, but my job was still clear. I was still a detective. Decided to make myself some boiled water and then hightail it. And apparently I needed to check in with the self-serve kiosk. I armed my gun, just in case there were any uninvited guests. So to the kiosk. Checked mine. It says you are safe now, which was an understatement. I'd been attacked earlier by feral dogs, roving robots, and a couple of scorched near a convenience store. I couldn't make heads or tails of the place, so I decided to just go ahead and take a rest. According to the overseer, when I left Vault 76, I took with me something called camp. This allowed me to build a makeshift hut of some sort. I hung my hat, as well as some guns, on the walls, just in case. And so that ended my first case. The case of the Tainted Creek. So now we had another case, second helpings. I had to find someone named Dilbert Winters at Flatwoods. Optional, search for Dilbert Winters in the people directory. I decided to go ahead and snatch up any resources I could find. I'd scrap them later. It wasn't until around maybe 10:30 in the evening that I realized all manner of creature was starting to come out. Just what I was looking for. It wasn't much, but it would do for my apparel. I needed to go ahead and find proper attire. This Vault 76 get-up was really getting on my nerves. Decided to go ahead and listen to a little bit of music. I had about 35 caps on me. Apparently they used it here in this particular time to buy and sell things. I have an unopened perk pack, so I decided to open it. Why not? Did you hear about the man who stole a calendar? He got 12 months. Joke number 100. Apparently the people in this particular time had some sense of humor. Being a detective, I decided to go ahead and increase my intelligence. Hacker, expert hacker, and master hacker each increase it by level 1. Interesting, but not something I needed at the time. I went back to the self-service directory. I went to the people directory and searched for the person I was looking for. Gilbert Winters. I found him. According to this, he was a rank responder. He was a morale officer and chef. Cooking, preaching, and morale. Last checked in, 7/24/96. I take it that was 2096. Being that I woke up at about 200 years later. Housing assignment, 21 Bridge Street. Runs the Flatwoods Kitchens and Potluck. Train survivors in food safety. So, found what we were looking for. The sun was coming up. I brandished my pistol and also decided to turn off this music. Appalachia didn't have a lot to offer in the way of music. I'd prefer news. I was treading on some farmland. I didn't really need to eat anything. But I sure as hell could use a drink. Nothing around but Brahmins. A lot of Brahmins. Well, I found the trailer house of Mr. Delbert, and apparently it had been taken over by brain fungus. It was harvestable, to my surprise. I closed the door behind me and started gathering up a few items within. Pots, pans, spoons, anything that could be useful for recycling. So, out into the living room, where I found the poor responder laying on the floor, half rotted to death. He had a holotape on him, some Sago buff, and some pre-war money.
Reverend Delbert Leonard here, born and raised.
I listened to his story.
At my own church to the responders for their outpost here, and you're welcome. The responders are on a true mission, you see, helping folks through thick and thin, till the heavens open up again and take us all up anyway. When this all happened,
I took a look into his files. Comfort cookbook recipes detected. Apparently, there were none here to be found.
At first, I thought it was a mistake, that we was missed, forgotten. Maybe we did some wrong.
Apparently, the favorite in this town was ribeye steak, due to the only animal being around was the Brahmin. There were other animals around.
That I'd not been thought. So I asked how? Why? I fought your wars on Earth. I'm ready to fight them up there by your side.
Apparently, the old codger decided that he wanted to check out with his boots on.
You ought to cut that first, I warned him. Seemed obvious. We tried, but got
Search for
sick.
training instructions around the Delbert house.
I realized right then and there that I was being tasked. From then on, I built kitchens, cooked good food, fed anyone who walked up with an empty belly, and I was thankful for my task in life. Thankful. Next time hell or high water land in my stew, I'll be swept clear away with it. But till then, let's share a home-cooked meal together, all right?
So I looked around, and I couldn't seem to pinpoint where it was. I seemed to be right on top of it. There was nothing I could see, at least not inside the house. I checked around a little more. I couldn't open the cabinets. They'd been sealed shut by rust. There was nothing behind the painting. There was no electricity going to the television sets. Apparently, these particular sets worked on atomic power. There was none to be had, except from maybe some nuclear sources scattered here and there throughout the land. There wasn't much I could do, except wait. I checked the volunteer training. Survivor's basic ribeye steak. I checked and rechecked the schedule and the past favorites list, to no avail. I checked David's diary. On faith. Sounded like everything that he had already recorded in the holotape. Apparently he had enjoyed cooking, and doing it a lot. Seemed to be his lot in life to be a cook, a pastor, and a trader. But he died with his boots on from what I could see. According to the diary, he was suffering from chronic nightmares as well. June 10th. Weird cows. This one bared reading. June 10th. It makes me glad to see the responders are taking in survivors so well. We need them, Lord knows. We need to rebuild this land. I've been noticing a weird thing. Some of the animals are born different. At first I thought it was just a random fluke. A two-headed cow. Should go to the Museum of Fakery. But then it happened again and again. He doesn't make mistakes like this. And apparently he was actually talking about the cows. Flood. There were too many other things to read, but I wanted to read November 8th. Gangs. This was most interesting because we had gotten a warning earlier in the day that we were to clear the area of Scorched. Why? No one really knows why. All we know is that we had 14 days in which to do it, and 7 of those days were already gone. So the sun was up, and we leave. Found more scrap and supplies along the way. I searched around. I found a gas station, and apparently I'd also found trouble. Apparently, local law enforcement was no longer on my side. Things got interesting when I had corpses just disappear in front of me. I checked out a radio. Not a damn thing coming through. No power. Things were looking interesting. Checked around the gas station to see if I could find some place to scrap these items. A Nuka-Cola machine with not one drop of Nuka-Cola in it. I found more Scorch. I decided to take pro-action, completely missing my target. Apparently, this was the body that disappeared earlier. A tinkerer's workbench. I needed some ammo, so I went ahead. Upon inspection, most of the cars had their internal, well, if you can call it that, internal combustion engine still intact. Ingredients for it. Meaning I had to find one of those two-headed cows and put a bullet in its head. It wasn't something I was going to enjoy either. But a man had... Another responder. Set up a trap for the you-know-whos and use holotapes to try and record their noises at night. Get a lock from the secret stash by the Brahmin tubs behind the house. Get a bigger gun or more guns or both. Try to tame a wild dog or a giant rat. Rest in peace, Perry. You sweet. The note ended there. It had been torn off. Found a makeshift battery.
Tonight, we bring you the final chapter of Who Goes There? A Strange Encounter in Flat Woods. In the last episode, Pioneer Scout Fred Fisher met a curious girl named
Interesting.
Sally while
Story
hiding in
being
the
told.
dark. But as it turned out,
Sounded like something
they
from an
weren't
old radio
alone.
show. Paid it no heed, though. Decided to go ahead and open up the little wrist gadget that I picked up and turn off the holotape. So, here was the proud cow Brahmin. Sorry, friend. It wasn't something I wanted to do. As I watched the proud beast wilt and crumple to the ground, I started gathering up his meat and hide. This one was tougher and didn't want to sit still for anything. I'd found a responder's camp, and I also found some trouble. Why a feral ghoul had a silver spoon on him, I'll never know. Hello there, Zombie Gamers Org. Sorry I didn't see you, kind of concentrating on not dying. I had had one viewer of my escapades, but he was now gone. It was nice to be liked, even if it was just once. Mole rat. Large, dangerous, and often came in packs. So now it was back to the cooking station. I'd found the meat I was looking for, and it was now time to go ahead and cook it up. I had to follow instructions in this strange new world I was in. Oftentimes I wondered what they wanted a detective for. Why would they deep freeze me in Vault 76 and then awaken me 200 years later to reclaim a land that I knew nothing about? Made myself some more boiled water while I was at it. And some muty fruit juice. So I got what I came for. Now I had to go ahead and check out what I'd gathered up so hastily. But before doing that, I had to check in, according to my map, the self-service check-in kiosks. So checked in with the kiosk, completed training, updating the volunteer status. I heard footsteps behind me. I knew there were other survivors in the area, but I paid it no heed. Not wanting to get my face shot off by a hostile survivor, I decided to go ahead and just make the best of it. I armed my machete. I had a single repair kit, and it wasn't worth repairing this if I didn't have the means to do so. Pipe wrench and a throwing knife. So, my job here was finished. I'd done everything I was asked to do, and it was time to head back to camp. Before doing so, I took out my machete to make sure that there were no hostiles in my area. I'd taken sufficient damage, not something I enjoyed. There was some sort of alert in the area.
Warning to all responders. Mr. Farmhands are out of control. Evacuate civilians and take down those supervisors. Once they're dealt with, you'll have to reboot the server. Again.
I decided I wanted no part of the quest. So many other people have tried it, and newbies had died. My level wasn't high enough, and I wasn't about to go and take on a bunch of Mr. Farmhands with just a pistol and a handful of ammo. Not something I really wanted. I picked up something called the Golly Mind Recon Notes. The following was written down on it. Jeff, I hope things in Flatwoods are going well. I had a thought I wanted to share. If we can spare the personnel, I'd like to send a team into Golly Mine. They were blasting in the days before the war. And if there's still dynamite in there, it might come in handy. I know you're busy with the volunteer program, so it's your call. Signed, Maria. I took the note and I went and checked in on the Roboco Responders Base unit. I logged in and looked for the volunteers. And apparently this completed the orders that I had been given. I couldn't read the restricted messages, at least not all of them. I'd reached something called level 5, whatever the hell that meant. I had a new case. A case called Final Departure. The Tainted Creek mystery was over, and I decided it was time to head back home. I'd had quite a day, running into a few monstrosities here and there, picking up a few things, and making sure I didn't get my face blown off. Before returning home, I decided it would be within my best interest to get some meat. And so I had to do it the hard way. I wasn't about to go tangling or go toe-to-toe with a bunch of robots and Mr. Handies. Instead, at given my current level, according to this newfangled machine, I decided to go ahead and return to my base. Mind you, once again, I didn't know what the hell was going on. All I know is I'd been stuffed into a cryotube, told to keep quiet, and had slept soundly for over 200 damn years. And again, why on earth would they want a detective frozen and then woken up 200 years later? I searched for my camp. It was nowhere on this newfangled map. So I decided to pull up the regular map and see if I couldn't fast travel to my camp. I found it. I wasn't too far away. Decided to go ahead and fast travel to it. Home sweet home, as we detectives call it, and I was back at my makeshift office. All I had was a gate, a lone generator, and one cooking station. Up on the wall, my service revolver and another pistol were hanging. I loved my service revolver, but I couldn't get enough ammo for it. Decided to go ahead and start transferring all my junk over. 138 rounds of my trusty pipe revolver, a detective's best friend, either in this era or the era before. I didn't have nearly as much enough ammo that I needed for it. So, as they say in my profession, Better hang it up. Now I settled in and decided to see what I could build. I had no idea what this was. An armor workbench. And also a weapons workbench. Something I badly needed right now. So, decided to build it. I hadn't looked at the plans I had. So, decided to go ahead and open it up. Now I had all the basic essentials, apparently. I decided to go back into my stash box and get some junk out. I needed to take everything out that I had. Because everything needed to be scrapped. there it was. So, it was time to go ahead and scrap some things. Reflex sight. I needed nuclear material to make this gun a little more powerful. Give it some kick. Did the repairs on the gun and exited the workstation. Night was falling. I needed to make ammo, so I had to see if I could make it here. No such luck. I needed a tinkerer's workbench. That's what I needed. But did I have the materials to build one? So I checked my wristwatch again. .38 caliber rounds, 1744, 45 rounds, 10 millimeter rounds, and a few fusion cells. It was almost an hour in. It was time to go ahead and hang up my hat for the night. You're a detective, and that's your job. Everything else is just for laughs. My name's Nick Carter. And that's about it. Have a good night, all. And remember, crime is a sucker's road, where the trap is justice. Sounds cliche, but for my time, well, it stuck. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.